All right, so I was out in Dallas, Texas, teaching a roofing company, and I asked the guy. I said, "What do you want?" And he said, "I want to make 250,000." And I said, "Okay, why is that?" And I challenged him. I'm teaching the achievement formula, right? And he's like, "Well, for lifestyle." And I was like, "Okay, so do you have a great lifestyle? If you're making 250K, that's like what you've got it out in your mind to be." And he's like, "Well, yeah." I'm like, "Well, what's your nut?" And he's like, "Well, I think it's like $8,000 a month." I was like, "Okay, so you need $8,000 to live." And I was like, "So how much is 250,000 a month?" And he's like, "Oh, it's probably like what, 12 grand?" And I was like, "So you've got an extra $4,000 to live with?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "It's not 12 grand, dude. It's like 20 grand. And he's like, "Oh, $250,000 is 20 grand a month?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, that's the first problem. He didn't know like $250,000 was 20 grand a month. And I was like, I see this over and over and over again. And so many people have these desires and these wants and these goals, but they don't even know how to break it down to a monthly nut or a monthly like number. And so then I said, "Okay, how much do you need to make 20 grand a month?" And he's like, "Well, that's like," I was like, "Well, how much do you make on average a sale?" And he's like, "About $2,500. And I was like, "Okay, so you make $2,500 on average for your sale. So how many sales would you need?" And he's like, "Well, about, 8. And I was like, "Okay, so you need 8 sales a month to make this 20 grand a month." So I said, "How many doors does it take to get an inspection?" And he's like, "It takes," what do you say? 5 doors or 5 contacts, like good ones, to get 1 inspection. I said, "How many inspections to get a roof bought?" And he said, "About 1 out of 5 get bought." So I said, "Okay, so you need to talk to 25 people and you'll get 1 job bought." And I said, "Well, how many people did you talk to last week?" And he's like, "Oh, probably 10, maybe 20. And I was like, "Well, there's the second problem. You don't even know." So many people are like, it took me, this many numbers to get to this. And I was like, "Are you whipping that number out of your butt? And then are you whipping the last week's numbers out of your butt?" And I was like, "Here's the problem. First off, you even said 10 to 20. You didn't even say 25. So you got to talk to 25 people." So then what I did is I took all of them to the inside in the restaurant. I said, "Okay, homeboy." And I picked the dude that was working the counter at the restaurant. I said, "Hey, if I told you had to talk to 25 people, random strangers a day, and I'd pay you $2,500 a day, would you do it?" And he's like, "Well, yeah." I was like, "Do you make that a month?" You know what I mean? I'm sitting there looking at him. I'm like, if I told you every day, no matter what, I will pay you $2,500 to go talk to 25 people. And then I look back at the group and I say, "Well, he's willing to do it." "Well, so he says." And, we broke it down to simple numbers, and I just simply was like, "Okay, you need to talk to, you need to do 8 deals a month. That's it." Like, I was like, "What are you doing the rest of the other 20 days? And then I said, you need to talk to 25 people a day, or not even a day. You just need to talk to 50 a week, because all you need is 2 a week to do 8 a month. So now you need to just talk to 50 people a week. That's like, divide that by 6, you're talking like 8 a day." So then I was like, "Okay, so let's go back to the restaurant." So I go back to the restaurant, I find another person. I say, "Hey, now if I paid you $250,000 a year to talk to 8 strangers a day, would you do that?" And they were like, "This isn't fair." I go, "Well, you're not talking to 8 strangers a day. You're not prospecting 8 people a day." And I said, "That's the problem, is you guys are going out selling 1, 2 a month or a week or whatever, and you're just not doing your numbers." And so if you break it down to the ridiculous like that, I was like, to talk to 8 people a day to hit your goal of 250,000, like, I think you could do a lot more. So why'd you say 250,000? That just sounded some like artificial number that you just made up. And so, as I train and as I teach people, I found that so many times people don't know why they want what they want. They just say a number that society says should sound good. And so they're literally dictating their goals and their results off of like a societal number. I'd rather you give me the number of 222,500, and I'd rather you tell me that than tell me 250,000, because you don't even know where the 250,000 comes from. So if we break it down to how many people you need to talk to a day, it doesn't seem that hard. It doesn't seem that scary. Everybody could talk to 8 people a day in his situation. Now, are the same ratios, the same numbers for everybody? No. Depends on your closing ratio. You're set to show your door knock to inspection to close. Like all those numbers factor in. But if he said he's been doing this for 10 years, he says he knows his numbers. My challenge is, does he even really know his numbers? And two, why isn't he doing it? Why is he not making $250,000? So if I'm you, I want you to ask yourself that same question. Number two, we go out and knock. So I was like, okay, let me go show you. My numbers are actually really good. I'm usually like 1 out of 3. He's like 1 out of 25. So for me, I was like, okay, we just need to go. I could go out for an hour or two, probably get a deal. And they're all like, really? And I was like, yep. So we go, knock one house, knock another house, finally catch somebody. They were not interested. Talk to another person. The wife wasn't home. And then talk to the third person, signed it, closed it, done. So as long as I'm getting in front of potential good prospects that are qualified buyers, my ratios are pretty dang good. I'm good at what I do. And it was really cool to show them in live. I'm not just the teacher. I'm like, let's go do it. And they were like, oh man, like you can get your numbers better. They were like, it doesn't need to be 1 out of 25. And it was just eye-opening to them to see if they train and if they spent money and time and energy on that they could get better. And that's my invitation to you guys is if you get better and spend money, time, energy, and training, you increase your work ethic, but you also increase your skill level. And those two combinations is what makes a very talented individual. So glad you enjoyed the episode. Share this, like this, and subscribe today. Here to drop some more vlogs and videos in the future. So, yep. Hope you guys have a good day. See you on the next one.